So I think as I'm looking at the date on my computer, it is December 23rd. So Hanukkah is behind us, and the Christmas season is upon us, and New Year's is coming next. And this has been a long arc for many families, from the Thanksgiving in November to the end of the tunnel in January. And for many people, the holidays are a tough time. Sometimes you're around people you haven't been around in a long time, and that doesn't go as well as you like. A lot of people have some emotional context around their holidays that changes their perspective. A lot of people feel a lot of pressure to be a certain way, to do a certain thing, to give the right gift. All of these things sort of come together. And what often is presented as a joyous and celebratory time becomes a struggle for people. And there's a lot of statistics that bear this out. There's a lot of self-harm during this time of year. Uh, and there's a lot of both genuine connection and I guess you could call it forced connection. I recently heard a phrase that I found interesting about relationships called cuffing season. Are you familiar with this, Gavi? So cuffing season is where you want a partner to be there for Thanksgiving through Valentine's Day, which is like
Okay.
the couples thing. Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, have somebody for New Year's Eve, have a Valentine date, and then I don't need a partner until the next year type
Oh,
of
you mean
thing.
like a political date?
Yeah, like a political date almost. And so there are a lot of relationships that are sort of held together by the gravity, the inertia of this time. And so all that comes together for a pretty spectacular stew of which and what do we say about stew? It can be delicious or it can be horrible depending on what you put in it.
Yep.
But I think that is something that a lot of people are feeling right now. And maybe by the time this podcast goes up, it'll be a thing a lot of people are looking back on. But
Well, it can be the same concept. You can use whatever,
yeah,
you know.
but they will be processing. So I think you have some thoughts about this time of year and the connection that goes on that I think people and the people that you work with, right? You have these thoughts that I think, and these experiences that
Yeah,
might be worthwhile sharing.
yeah. Listen, we're all human beings, so let's be honest. You know, we all have thoughts. So again, I want to stress two things before I start. First of all, the concept of this series was about your diamonds, right?
Right,
That some of these things are so normal and so everyday concepts, right? There
right.
doesn't have to be a big thing. That's the first thing. Second of all, is that um I don't know, I've lost my train of thought for a second.
That's all right. See, this is what happens, right? You
I've
were
just got
talking
too
about
many.
connection, right? This
Yeah.
idea.
So yes. So bear with me. So I apologize. Yeah. So basically, the one of the things is that um, we know the answers, right? So I want to kind of like make it simple podcast, but at the same time, the truth I'm going to say can be very um, direct, right?
Impactful.
Meaningful, and sometimes can to quote a phrase trigger, right?
Right.
But I don't mean it in a negative way, and you have to bear with me. So um, I want to talk. I want to discuss with you and hear your thoughts, but just think I want to talk about connection, like you were
Okay.
talking about. So I want to just give a who or what, a why, a good, bad, and ugly of what connection is. Right. So it's kind of like let's just talk about, and then it can build upon it. But let's just get the foundation. So I don't want to talk about trauma today, but just to kind of get it in context, trauma is depending on how you look at things, but if you look at it as an event that happened to a person, right, and you choose whether you're going to relate to it or not, can depend on how you look at your trauma. right?
Right.
So, and just a simplistic thing of if you look at it as events that happen, and you can choose how you want to interpret it on how you want to move forward, right? Is more of a healthier way than as opposed to become a victim to things. Now, and I'm
Right.
not talking again. The reason I don't want to go and talk about trauma is due to the fact that I don't want to belittle trauma. I just want to kind of use it in a very a generic
Right.
concept and a positive.
There are traumatic events.
Yeah, again, we can't relate. So this basically what kind of gave me the impetus to this idea. Um, and the reason why I say about trauma, because Peter Levine, and
Right.
those who don't know, he wrote extensively about trauma and getting out of trauma. And his whole one of his concepts is that the opposite of a trauma, and one of the ways to get out of trauma is once you're affected by it, you basically he says it's a loss of connection,
Okay.
right? You either can disconnect yourself from life, from reality, from other people, yourself, for whatever it is. Right? You're disconnecting yourself, and you kind of like there's an expression in the field called freeze. Right? You
Okay.
freeze yourself. Again, these are more technical. Again, it's not for the time or the place, but just to kind of give a brief overview. Right. So I want to go along about this lack of connection, and
Okay.
and basically I want to kind of like give a roadmap of what connection is, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the who and the what and the why.
Okay.
So let's just start off with a definition of connection. So a connection, I just looked up on online, the dictionary, and this is what they relate to do. To be connected means to be linked, related, or joined, range from a physical to a deep emotional bond, um, essentially forming a meaningful relationship to belonging or something larger, whether through shared energy, interest, or mutual support, fostering a sense of unity and shared experience. That's the definition. It sounds a lot, so let's just kind of bring it down. So, turn the page. All my different notes here. I've got 1,000 notes here. So let's go with the who. Who needs connection? I put it to you, David. Who needs connection?
I would say everyone.
That's it.
Um,
Let's put it. That's the answer. It's
right.
everybody.
But
Anyone who
I
says to
think
you
you have
doesn't
to
need it,
distinguish between healthy and unhealthy, which I'm sure
yeah,
you're
we're going
going
to
to
get that,
do.
but I just want to kind of get the base. I want to get the baseline,
Right.
right? If anybody said to you, you don't need connection, I would genuinely um, question them.
Well,
It's
and
a
I think
natural.
I think
Well,
there's people that don't know they need it, right? So
okay,
I think everyone does. I think that the people that don't feel they do are missing something that they don't know they're missing.
that's why they need to come to our podcasts. That's
Or
it.
your
Plug,
office,
shameless
exactly.
plug. So, who needs connection? So, reality is everyone. We mean it's. I even bring it even further. Let's go even further. Each individual needs a connection.
Right,
Okay. That means you and I individually need a connection.
right,
Okay. For many different reasons, right? And we'll discuss that in a second. So there's start off with singular, I.
right,
Then the next level is everybody.
right,
And then there's going up to, so that means male, female, young, old, fat, thin, green, pink, whatever it is, denomination. It's kind of a colorblind concept.
right,
It's a natural human DNA, just like we had discussed in one of the last podcasts, is that everyone is created to create things,
right,
right? You have that DNA, right? It's part and parcel of it. So if we now understood that there's conceptual connection and everyone needs it to thrive, so then what is a connection, right? So look at my notes. So a connection is um, being seen
okay. I like
by
that.
someone,
Right,
being heard by someone, it's being valued, right? It comes in many different value levels, right? From a small child just wants to be, know they're safe,
right,
right? Know they come home. There's a meal on the table, snacks in
right,
the cupboard, right?
right,
There's a TV in the corner. Small things like that, all the way up to an older person who's coming to an end of their life, he wants to be filled, but he's still validated,
Right.
right? He's in the nursing home. No one wants. He wants someone to come along and say hi, give me validation, right? That's the what, and the why. So here, I think is the crux of why. Is because, like we said before, we are wired. We're wired for relationships. We're wired to be to work with people, right? For many reasons. We want meaning. We want
Right.
purpose. We want to
Right.
connect with
Meaning
someone
and
that
purpose,
gives
I
us
think,
purpose,
are critical.
right? Again, it helps us grow. It helps us have empathy. It helps us, build deeper connections. It fosters learning, right? If you want to learn something and you ever connect with someone, you go to someone that you feel that they relate to you, they
Right.
genuinely want. So you want to foster, growth. You get empathy. You
Right.
know what? A child who hurts himself, who wants to someone, the mum just to give him a hug and a kiss, right? As opposed to, you've lost a job. Someone wants to, you go to a friend who will genuinely will hear you, will see you, will validate you, will
Right.
guide you, right? Um, it also it spurs actions, right? Inspires actions and moves beyond superficial interaction, by building trust and
So there's a
conflict.
lot of phrases people talk about that iron sharpens iron, right? But that I really, or call to action. But I think you're right. We talk about this idea that everybody has a diamond within them and everyone is given this opportunity to create. And a healthy connection supports that part of you and inspires you to use it, right? Versus keeping you where you're at. The deepest and best connections that we have are the ones that bring us forward in what we're here to do.
Oh, I mean that's why one of the worst things when um, you give to a prisoner is solitary confinement.
Right.
Unless you are strong within yourself, to quote Star Wars, he's what is it? He's strong within himself, kind of thing. As I
Yeah.
use the Force, right? Most people go mad because they 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 don't want to be with themselves in a negative way, right? We'll go back there in a second, the good, bad, and the ugly, right? So if we realize that the power, right, of the who, the what, and the why, again, it brings a belongingness, right, community wise, right. You belong to something, your family. You belong to, the family you value. You're different, right. You have something to say around the table. Like nowadays, one of the things that's missing is table time, right?
Yes.
No distraction, and besides giving a unity, it's what do you want to talk about? Give you feelings. What's your positive today? What do you think about? There's a tremendous psychologically powerful empowerment there. You
And I
know,
think there's the irony is that we're more connected now than we ever were by email, via social media, via text message, but we're less connected in the
oh,
real and meaningful sense.
I listen. My field of work, right, just reflects how it's boomed away helping people. But I would say even simplistically in just in teaching,
Right.
how many people just want to be inspired,
Right.
right? They want to have they want that human touch. I think
Right.
that's what it is. Is that genuine, soul to soul, right?
Right.
That's why again, if I don't want to jump the gun, but one of the good things about that is that whatever you believe in, right?
Right.
By having a connection, for example, if you a religious connection, right? There could be negatives and positive sides, but if you believe in something, you want to be around people that are like-minded to you, that gives you validation to what you believe in.
Right.
Okay, the negative side of that is you get these crazy cults, right? They come up with different, conspiracy theories.
Right.
You could turn out, well, they're all good. People are connecting on a theme and an idea. But if it's not a healthy
Yes. There's a lot of unhealthy
avenue
connection.
of growth, then you're basically, and I'm going to say it's very, very controversial. You are basically blinding yourself to believe what is real is what is not real is real, right? Which instinctively, if it's not real, it will destroy because it's just that's just the way life is. If
Right.
something is not healthy, like people are on drugs, right,
Right.
or alcohol, right, it's good in moderation. But if you kind of overtakes you and you believe that's your gospel and that's your way to Nevada, what happens is if you abuse the system or you abuse your body, it's going to reject you,
Right.
right? And if you get to a point it's too damaged, even though you're in the community and there's good communities within that. And again, I don't want to be controversial. In reality, is that it's not a healthy way of living.
Well, and I think that this is something, and I guess we're slipping a little here, but I think that you're alluding to that's really important, which is we've talked about this absolutely essential need to connect and to connect in a genuine way, right? And if that if you don't do that, if that's either not available to you or you make or have circumstances in which you make different choices, the need is still there. You're just substituting it with um other things that you become connected to because that need is so great and so essential to us that if we can't fill it in a healthy way we start filling it in an unhealthy way. And
I,
this, and again, I don't want to get into this idea of trauma too much, but this whole concept of trauma bonding that people
yeah,
talk about, right, which is again, I know you see people in work and that's a deep concept, but one of the things that a trauma bond is it's a substitute for healthy connection, right? And it's very, very strong because that same need is then channeled into these other things.
totally. Again, just to strengthen you up, is that these groups, why
Right,
they're powerful, is because a lot of, I would say, 99% of the people have been through that journey, so they can relate to, and
right,
that's why it's extremely powerful. So if you haven't been through that journey or that understanding or that realization of the pain that can cause, right? So someone comes in with good intentions, right? Oh, but misses that empathetic
they haven't
uh,
been there.
understanding, haven't been there, then therefore, in that regard, then it's a negative,
Right.
right? Even though you want to do good, right? So you got to be careful. You have to sometimes sometimes by saying nothing is saying everything,
Right.
right? So you know, so let's just talk about the good, the bad, the ugly then, right? Which is very much what you're saying and what I've been saying in the who, the what, and the why, the very same things. But the good, this is my notes. I'm just gonna, you're feel free to challenge, object,
Let's
uh,
hear it.
thing on. So I wrote for my notes, the good, it's a support, it's a belonging, it's a growth,
Right.
it's a wider support. It connects you with people globally, offers unique perspectives and help. It's good because there's a community, like we said before, like-minded individuals. You're reducing isolation and fostering a sense of belonging. A caring. If you go to a church or a synagogue or a temple and you're not there, where are you? Where's Johnny? Where's he gone?
Yeah.
Is he sick? Oh, let's do.
Yeah.
It brings resilience. It shows
That's
healthy connection,
huge.
builds you empathy, trust. It helps you bounce back from challenging. It informs and opportunities. Again, like we said before, it gives you access to knowledge, professional growth, and new opportunities. Right? Again, you got to connect with someone that cares, and they know you haven't got a job, and oh, you know what, you're good at X, Y, and Z. A friend of mine has it. I'm going to
Yeah.
connect you. That comes from that connection. So that's the good thing, right?
Right. And that's if your connections are doing that, you should
Yes.
look at them as good connections. These are the things your connections should be doing.
So then that leads in, nice segue to the bad, the challenges and the pitfalls. So this is
Right.
what I wrote. A bad side to connection is it's superficial, right? You have too many connections like Facebook friends
Yeah.
or TikTok, right? Especially online, they lack that depth, that quality of a quantity,
They're
a quantity of a
superficial.
quality kind of thing, right? Oh, I've got 1,000 friends, but in reality, how many of them would you phone up in the middle of the night if you needed help?
Right. How many would take you to the airport at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, the bad thing is it's a distraction. There's a
Yeah.
constant notifications. that interrupts real life interactions. It's kind
Ah,
of,
yeah.
it's harming present relationship. I get what I talked about in the last one is that you're on the phone with someone and someone beeps, right? And you say, "Excuse me, I'm just talking." You
Right,
get on the phone. That's not fair to the person
right,
you're talking to, right? The distractions, even though you're trying to be good by telling the person on the phone, no, 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 I'm talking to you.
right.
Like that small thing, it says you're not 100% connected. You're not valuable anymore. What else did I write here? It's poor handling of disagreements lead to resentment, defenselessness, and disconnection. Right?
So I like this idea that true connection, true friendship, right, should be bigger than the disagreements between you, right?
Yes,
Now, obviously, you have to have healthy values and you have to have healthy um, connection and dialogue, right? And there's certain things that I think you fundamentally you can't necessarily agree with in certain relationships. Um, but that being said, a healthy relationship, a healthy connection needs to be bigger than differences of opinion.
you agree to disagree.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Again, the last one I have on bad is the misrepresentation. People hide behind profiles, right? You see it all the time. They put a facade on. They go into debt because they want to show that they want to be part and
Oh,
parcel of
keep
the
up with the Joneses.
Kid Jones are brilliant. They'll put on a pious, right? It kind of rots. The fish rots from the head. I would say no. If you're disingenuine, you're putting on a facade. It rots from inside. Your
And
your,
what's
your
going on
soul
in
stinks. It's crying for being the genuine uh, Gavi to come out. If you're trying to be something else, it smells that only you can smell. And it's the Jiminy
right,
Cricket. You're
right.
not being true. And that you can never get away with, no matter how, you mask it, whatever you want. Right? You're giving an
What
imp. You want to say you're giving it. I feel it's like you're giving to quote a phrase, an imperfect version of yourself.
and what's going on? I think it's something that when you're in these relationships where you can't be your genuine self, right? Um, and you're wearing that mask and you're rotting from the head. Um, I love that phrase. What's going on in that relationship that's not allowing you to be yourself? Now, sometimes it's just a matter of saying to that person, this is who I am. I need to be myself. I'm not comfortable doing this anymore, right? I'm not saying that every one of those relationships in which you're not feeling genuine is a relationship you should discard because, but I think it's important to be your authentic self, right? In those relationships. And the ones that are healthy and the ones that are strongly connected will grow and accept you, right? But they don't get that opportunity if you are again representing yourself in a way that is not genuine.
Yeah, listen, it takes courage. Even in a healthy relationship, there's still more growth you can do.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, again, it's triggered to a lot of different things, right? As I said, I don't believe that no one doesn't have some dysfunctionality in it. I always tell my clients, you have two choices. You can either be dysfunctional, functional, or you can be dysfunctional, dysfunctional. You choose what you want. If you're looking for perfection, it's never going to happen because it doesn't exist. But if you realize you want a functional dysfunctional, that means, I don't like eating. You make salmon every Tuesday, and I hate salmon. I've said nothing for years. You have this resentment, but you love the person.
right.
It takes courage to say, sweetheart, you know what? I know you've been for years and you try, you love it, but I'm afraid that you may turn around and say, look worse to me. Actually, you probably won't. They'll probably respect you in a way that you've got the courage enough. And we're all, and I put my hand up that in
Yeah,
my own relationship, there are times when I should say what I feel, but because we have um many different, the wolf, the monkey,
yeah,
the
yeah.
whatever in your mind, you play games, right? That's why it's nothing more, but sometimes it takes strength.
Right.
Even the thing, I mean, to be sometimes being genuine with yourself, it takes a courage that you have, you're just not willing to take it, because we discussed this many times, is that sometimes when you do something good, something happens that enables you to, oh, that felt so great, I want to try and do it in something else. And sometimes we're afraid of our own successes, that we hold back and we become like the worm inside the horseradish,
Yeah.
right? kind of thing. It's the you see that sometimes in abusive relationships. Why don't you just leave? When they're beating you up, is that they hide onto that one time that that person treated them with something, and they
Or
believe it comes down to it. But meanwhile, you're getting beaten and you're being mentally and physically. Again, it's an extreme case. Sometimes you
I think
can't
it's
convince
hard
them.
sometimes to who am I if I'm not this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I think that um is something that journey that they go on with you is so critical. It's this idea is you can help them find that courage, right? So say for example, you become divorced, right?
yeah,
Part of your identity was being a spouse,
yeah,
right? Who am I now that I'm not that, right? And that fear of changing because I only have had this identity, even if it's not been the best identity, even if it's not been genuine. Like you say, like nobody goes into a bad relationship and says I want to be in this bad relationship, right? That there's a disconnect between being their authentic self and being in this relationship. And that's the what the bad in a connection is if your connection's unhealthy, right? Again, it's not because you're sitting there desiring an unhealthy outcome. It's because you need the connection and you don't know how to make it healthy, right?
yeah.
And sometimes that's not being connected with that person.
And
Sometimes
sometimes that
that's
you
restoring the
being
relationship.
divorced is the right thing, even though it's
Right.
painful. Because
Exactly. There are people that should be divorced, right?
yes,
And then, but even then, you have to go through this process of reinvention. You can't cling to that identity. You're going to get a
well,
new one.
yeah. Welcome to growth. Welcome to
Right.
being a human being. Welcome to that's again. That's what we said is that the fear of the unknown, right, can be either absolutely liberating, right, or absolutely terrifying. Like, if I get divorced, oh my gosh, I got to restart. I got to reinvent myself. Who's going to go out with someone, right? I'm afraid to turn around. Yeah, I mean, the mind plays tricks, but if you are if you are healthy enough to realize I don't want this then, but the best thing is for me. I don't want to be a martyr,
Right. Exactly.
right? It's been the honest thing of it's been both sides are at fault, sometimes more than the other. Sometimes it's just, what, we're just two different tracks, and therefore for you to go your way, mine to go one way, it's the best thing. We're always being connected, whether you like it or not, right?
Right.
Uh, um, Again, I don't want to kind of go on a thing on divorce, but sometimes it's healthy for if you have children in it to see that it's painful, but it's actually beneficial for both sides. And you, even though you may look at it as a stigma, all right, no, no, no. You know what? I'm teaching you that there are times when it's painful to separate, to grow, to be better people, not
Right.
to be resentful, to be angry, to be, right. That's the constant challenge we all have,
Right.
in different levels.
And that's, and sometimes divorce is taking an unhealthy connection and making it healthy, right?
Yeah, an unhealthy again. The ugly side to the connection, or
Yeah.
you've basically summed it up, is an unhealthy patterns.
Right.
You know, it can lead to addiction, but destruction because you're trying to hide away from what you really need.
Right.
Control abuse. It's connections can involve. The ugly side. You get manipulated. I have more money than you, so you'll do what I want, or we're going to prove to everybody that we are the most perfect couple. Right?
Ah, yes.
Control, isolation, emotional, physical, threats. You withhold the person, right? That's the ugly side of it. What? To manipulate over one person, right? Is destructive and takes strength to, like you said, to step aside and go, this is not healthy, this is destructive, this is not what my soul needs to shine. It's not
Right.
what or sometimes both sides just did it. Here's the honest truth. Can we work upon this?
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Can we? Is it worth saving? Or you're not willing to? If you're not willing to, I'm sorry. You know what? It's time to you know go our separate ways.
So I think when you talk about relationships, right? So the first thing is that we have what we know a healthy relationship should look like.
Well, hopefully,
Right. And
some
if
people
you
don't.
don't, right, if you don't see someone like Gavi, right? If you haven't had the opportunity to be educated in what a healthy relationship looks like, it hasn't been modeled for you, that's real. That may be a tragedy, but it's not a sentence, right? Go to the website, send Gabi an email, or any therapist you choose. I recommend Gabi, of course. He's my friend. But this idea of if you don't know, you can learn, right? You're not destined to repeat negative relationships.
So,
So,
so that being said, like, I just kind of to give some helpers because again,
okay,
I can portray myself as the greatest thing, but a lot of people are afraid.
right,
I always tell people when they come to see me, you're halfway there, and they look, I'm crazy. What do you mean? I said, by you taking the courage to come,
right,
that means that you want to change. So therefore, we can work together. So a lot of people are afraid. They are afraid of the stigma that we said. So let me just give just to help those people to give the courage and the strength to either connect to me or other people.
right.
There are some wonderful people out there, may not be as great as I am, right? But no, there are. And
Yeah,
that's the beauty of the world. There are so many different ways to connect. So I'll give you a few things just to help and be present.
right,
Be present. We spoke last one. Just be neutral,
right,
right? Um, be present where you are. How are you feeling,
right.
right? Do I feel that where I am, I feel good? Do I
Right.
not feel good? Do I listen to my heart, my soul, my thing?
And
Second, what
listen
I
to
would
that.
say, huh?
Listen to that. Don't
Listen to
don't let
that.
it pass through and not listen to it. Pay
Because
attention to that.
the thing is, we don't realize is that our body, our soul is such a good indicator. We just don't listen to it.
Exactly.
Last two things I would say is seek quality.
Right.
Focus on valuable, trustworthy relationship over large empty networks, right? Large empty groups. Like our friendship, it's strong. It's our relationships with our wives, our partners. They're based upon a value or trust worth, right? I would say the hardest thing, and even I struggle with this at times, communicating authenticity,
Right.
right? Share your real needs, how you feeling at that moment of time,
Ooh, yeah.
which is, again, I would say that's the thing I struggle probably the most is being, because I care so much about people. Sometimes I don't want to kind of like upset someone else by telling the
Right.
truth, right?
Oh, and I
Right.
wonder how many people during the holiday season feel the way you do, right? Like just don't say anything, right?
Again, you have to do it in a way, in a tactile, honest way, not, um, go aside, hey, can
Don't
I just have
don't
a quiet
scream at
word?
people
Please
at the
don't
dinner
take this
table.
wrong way. I love you dearly, but again, if you force sincerity, it won't come across.
Right.
It won't come across. And the last thing I'll say, and especially now going to the holidays, um, boundaries.
Yes.
Protect your time, your privacy, your emotion. You know, the other thing, a lot of people seem to drink a lot more this time of the year, right? You're inhibited. I need to drink that to go and tell you how I feel. No, no, no. That's that boundary.
Right.
Is it a time and place? Is it in front of your kids? Is it in front of
Right.
your in-laws, right? Again, boundaries, boundaries, boundaries at time. And if you're honest enough with yourself and you genuinely want to connect, you'll realize, you know, um, yeah, listen, it's the good, bad, the ugly. Like we do a whole series on a lot of things. So, I'd
Right.
love to do that. Maybe we'll do the next one. The good, bad, the ugly, the who, what, and how of X,
So,
Y, and Z.
but I think there's some things to take away, which is that this time of year gives us some time to experience some of our connections in different ways. And you're a great advocate, and I tend to agree with you with writing things down, right? And sometimes if it's not the time or place to say something, you can write it down. There's a therapeutic technique people use where you write a letter to somebody and you don't send it. I've done that myself.
Or you burn
Um,
it.
yeah, you burn it. Um, but I think that we as human beings are starved for connection. We don't have enough of it. And we substitute things for it that may be unhealthy. And we compromise ourselves to maintain it when it may be unhealthy. And those are all of these things that you've illuminated today. And it's a crushing blow when it's not healthy, and it's an uplifting hand when it is. And so, as you said, be present, be neutral, listen to how you're feeling, set boundaries. But beyond that, the connectivity you're experiencing in your life, or lack of, or the health of, has such a profound impact on you that if you're not where you want to be, find someone to guide you, right? A friend, a clergy member, a therapist, because the rewards are so fantastic. The benefits are so extreme. You may be on a beach someday with a palm tree blowing behind you, feeling better about yourself, right? But when you're walking into whatever family gathering it is with a sense of dread, that may be a time to reevaluate how your connections are.
So listen to that silent cry. I
Right?
guarantee, even those crowded place, you'll hear it if you're willing, and honest. It's there. And the greatest thing is once you decide to go on a journey of rediscover, you know, it's amazing how that voice goes from a cry to a song, but a song that that you're so proud to hear.
And I can think of nothing more profound than what you just said. So I'm going to wish everybody a good and happy season, whatever season it is for you, and encourage them to come back and hear what Gabi has to say next.
God bless. Till next time. Thanks again.
Take care.
Bye.